Life Academy would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we record this podcast on.
Trigger warning for this episode, we discuss adult themes, body image, diet culture, and it contains some coarse language, so please be aware if you have little ears around.
A quick shout out to all the incredible mamas listening. In those early years of motherhood, advice comes from every direction, but sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is tune it all out and do what comes naturally. Little Bellies make that easier with age and stage appropriate snacks made from wholesome ingredients, no artificial stuff. Trust your instincts and look for Little Bellies at major retailers and littlebellies.com. Little Bellies, do what comes natural.
Hello and welcome to Life Academy. I'm your host, Dena Amy Kaplan.
And I'm your co-host, Gemma-Ashley Kaplan.
Surprise!
Yay!
It's my big sister. I'm so excited.
I'm beyond excited.
Okay, guys, Alicia is unfortunately very sick. She might have COVID. She's
She's plaguing.
Yeah, so we have roped in my amazing big sister, best friend, bestie ever, Gemma.
And my first podcast experience.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Gemma's actually a voiceover artist, so she's very used to speaking beautifully on like audio podcasts, but you've never done a visual format.
Very comfortable on a microphone, but it's been a long time since I was on camera. Like I was trying to think about it this morning and I couldn't even remember. Like before with the kids, I was working in theatre up until like kids. I can't remember when the last time I was on camera. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're not really the queen of Instagram and social media and selfies.
No,
so.
we were just talking about this actually. Like I really want to be better for growing my brand and growing my business and doing things effectively on Instagram. But like we were saying, we have a friend who actually, Dena's wearing her label
the
today.
amazing Tess Holmes.
And she's just phenomenal. And how you can manage to just have your phone at the right moment.
I know.
Or do you just have it all the time? Like the whole thing.
No, I don't. I haven't figured it out.
Really
I don't know how you
it.
like are present with your child and doing stuff and then also capturing it on camera. But like I have hectic ADHD, so maybe that's why. I don't know what your excuse is.
I just am not. I'm old.
You're just old.
Old.
You're a failure, Gemma.
I'm turning 40.
You're turning 40. Oh my God, November 14th. Everyone get around her.
Get around me.
Well, I'm so excited to have my sister here. She's my best friend in the whole world. She listens to every episode, so she knows what's happening in Life Academy.
I am up to date. I caught up. I'm right
up to date. And we hear all about the life lessons. And the really interesting thing about the synchronicity of today's episode is that the guest that we have here is actually Gemma's request. She contacted me and said, I really want you to get this incredible woman on. Do you think you could? And I was like, I don't know. I'll try. I'll reach out. And then it just so happens
it's
Alicia gets
crazy.
sick.
Yeah. I didn't poison her, guys. Like if that's what you're thinking, I didn't.
Alicia gets sick and then you get to actually be here for this interview.
It's beyond. And I just am so excited because actually my best friend who's been on this podcast, like the whole thing is just really weird. So my friend Tammy, who was Dena's friend at school and then like I stole her and now she's my bestie.
Yeah. We do this in the Kaplan sisters.
Yeah,
we share friends. Close
and
friends.
Tammy's been in our lives forever, but I'm really, really close with her. And she and I are very passionate about parenting.
Yes, you are.
And we're always sharing different resources and finding things on Instagram. Anyway, she was like, you need to get onto this woman. You're going to love her. She's going to be your new fave. So she sends me this amazing woman's Instagram. And then I got obsessed, went down the rabbit hole, listened to her TED Talk, did all the...
You and 3 million other people.
It's actually crazy.
Yeah.
But not crazy because if you listen to it, you'll understand why. And so I said to Dena, I've got the best suggestion for your podcast because they had this amazing woman. What was the lady who came about the...
We had Casey Edwards.
She was phenomenal.
Wonderful
And
author.
I was like, that episode was so popular for a reason. You need to get...
A parenting.
I'm going to let you announce the guest because I don't want to.
Before I do, I just need a quickie. How are you? And like
I didn't.
Any like quick life updates because I don't know. Like, have we spoken? You've been mumming so hard.
I mum hard. I'm pretty good now. Like we're prepping to go overseas, which is really exciting. We're going to England.
So cool.
For 5 weeks.
Gemma's husband is British.
He's a Pommy, and we're going for. My brother-in-law is getting married, my famous brother-in-law, and we're going for the wedding, which will be really beautiful, and I'm looking forward to that. But I had like quite a long stretch of solo parenting because Ben was in China. And then he always does this thing when he goes overseas. Ben's my husband. That he catches some kind of lurgy. So he went to
like
China.
a Logie award?
No, not a lurgy. A terrible illness. And he went to China.
Oh, not a Logie.
Not a lurgy.
I thought he won a Logie. Look at mine.
Look at me. Oh my God, we have to tell them about Maya and look at me. And he came home, got off the plane. I was so excited to see him, and he did the exact same thing last time. He's like, I just don't feel great. I'm like, you've been away for 3 weeks. What's going on? Okay. And he came home with OG COVID from China.
No.
So then he was feeling sick, and I was like, great, now I'm going to get it. And then somehow he's had it 5 times. I've only caught it twice. I didn't catch it, but I started to feel really sick. And then I thought, oh God, now I've got COVID. So I was like, great, well, we may as well share a bed now because I've got it. Anyway, I tested and it wasn't COVID, and then he got whatever I had as well. So basically I solo parented for 5 weeks, so that was fun.
Yeah, that's why we haven't spoken that much because you've been flat out.
Yep, and just like, I'm just like a proper, I don't know, nobody in here knows me. So I'm basically a soccer mum, like a full-time
Which
job.
is hilarious because Gemma grew up dancing and acting and performing. She's a Whopper graduate. She is a theatre star. She's been the leading lady in every theatre show that's come to Australia practically.
But I can't catch a ball.
She cannot run, cannot catch a ball. The fact that you've become a soccer mum.
You were good at sports.
Yeah, I was the sporty one.
I was like the last one picked for every, when they used to do that mean thing where like one person picks and then another person picks.
I get really sad when I think about you at school because you were actually
so
a dork.
Nebbish.
You were nebbish. And to our non-Jewish listeners, that it's like dorky but cute.
Sad but cute. That was me.
Yeah.
But I was happy, like sad but cute and happy.
I think
I went to the music room and I wrote music. And
and you made your best friend through drama. You're a drama
my
kid.
BFF.
Theater. Yeah.
I'm just a theatre kid through and through, and I was never sad about it.
I was sad about it because I was really popular.
Yeah. And she was.
And I was
you were so empathetic that you felt bad for me.
I know, I just wanted
and
you
also
to be popular.
not just popular, but Dena also, I went to ballet and then she came to ballet and then she was 4 years younger than me, and the teacher was like, who's that girl in the back, that little one copying everyone? And I was like, oh, that's my sister. And she was like, I want her. And then Dena became the star, and we would go dance comps, and I would always get an honorable mention or third, and Dena would win. And then that sort of just carried through.
Gemma, don't lie. You had a really amazing role. It's very significant. I'm not sure if you can remember, but
I did. I know exactly what you're talking about.
There's a video on Instagram which I'll repost where I'm doing my first solo, 3 years old, in a tutu on stage. And there is a moment where the little dog gets pulled away from me, and someone had to do that pulling.
Yep. And there I was.
There she was, side
6
stage.
years old, absolutely smashing it.
So you've always been amazing, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes.
Very happy to be behind the scenes.
You are the best sister in the world. You're the most amazing friend. You have seen me through every up and down and in between, and it's just really exciting to have you here because I feel like we don't actually get that much time anymore with our kids to catch up.
I think something that happens with kids is that then when you don't have kids, it's all about the conversation's all about you, and then you have kids and suddenly every moment you spend with someone else and the kids are there, it's just about them, which is beautiful. And but we probably don't we text a lot.
We text a lot. We do.
We have a group chat. But we have a group chat which is called Keeping Up with the Kaplans, which is our whole
family.
family.
We've got 3 group chats. So the first one, family one, is Keeping Up with the Kaplans. Then we've got an Instagram group which is called Girly Chickens,
which is without Dad because he probably wouldn't cope with.
He also doesn't understand Instagram,
and he just wouldn't cope with half the stuff we talk about.
Yeah, and then we've got just a sisters one.
Yeah, and so the sisters one's very open and honest. We would talk about our mental health or vaginas or whatever.
Yeah,
And
Girly
then
Chickens, pretty much just memes,
sending each other stuff and pop culture vibes.
Keeping
and then
Up with
Keeping
the
Up Kaplans is basic life admin. How do we fix my washing machine's broken today?
Yeah, it's just life stuff.
That
Okay.
sort of thing.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you're okay. Is Ben better now? Are you no more?
No, I'm fine. What about you?
So, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm trying to think. I just had therapy, which is like so weird to have therapy and then go straight into a podcast.
It's great, you've unpacked.
I feel like I've just been talking for like 5 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alex and Maya are both sick as well. So yeah, it's just winter. But I keep skipping it, which is amazing. Every
great.
time Maya gets sick, Alex touches it.
Do you take vitamins and stuff? Or
I take a lot of drugs.
No, but like I know you take a lot of drugs, but what about vitamins?
No, I like the hard stuff. So yeah, not really, but I just don't seem to get as sick as they do. So they're both sick and whatever, but I've been good. I'm trying to think what's going on. I'm really like just thriving, like with the retreats. We've sold them out and it's just really fun planning them. And we're spending the next few days in Melbourne, which I'm really excited about.
So excited.
Because I'm taking Maya to the Wiggles concert tomorrow.
Oh my God.
She's like not that into them, but I think she'll love it.
I think she will. We took Darcy. As you know, I am very close friends, long life, feels really lifelong friends with Lockie Wiggle. And so we took
the Purple Wiggle.
Purple Wiggle. I don't even know if he does the big shows anymore, but because he has kids now, twins. And
you're also friends with Emma Wiggle.
Yes, with Emma, who's no longer Emma Wiggle, but
She's
Emma Memma.
Emma Memma.
And Lockie, obviously Darcy was like the firstborn in like our drama school friends. You know, he was the first kid, so he got a lot of attention whenever there were shows on. He got to go backstage or whatever. So we took him to a Wiggles concert and he he was into it before, but he just like he sat there like,
okay, amazing. Well, it's going to be her first concert. Ari's coming, our little sister. So it's just going to be an amazing girly chicken day. Sorry.
Thanks a lot.
I just realized
really bitchy.
So I just realized that you're not coming. No, the reason Ari's coming is because Alex was like, I really don't want to come.
Fair,
and then we had a spare ticket and then I just thought of Ari and like
she's a really good auntie like that.
Ari is like she's
a great
really
auntie.
Impressed me with her auntie skills. Yeah. Anyway, let's introduce our incredible guest today.
I'm so excited.
Because we've only got so much time and I have so many questions.
Me too. I made a whole list.
You've got like a thesis PDF.
I did a type A version.
Yeah, oh my God. There's no drafts Dena and there's like super prepared Gemma. I would love to introduce, with such privilege, our incredible guest, Lael Stone. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Life Academy.
Thank you. That was so beautiful, just witnessing and listening to that beautiful sister, gorgeous connection. It was beautiful.
Pretty lucky. Best sisters.
Yeah, definitely lucky.
It is such an honor and a privilege to have you here. You are, I don't need to tell you, but to our listeners, Lael is an incredible author. She's a parenting expert. She's a TEDx talker. Her TED Talk has 3 million views, maybe more now at this point. She's written various books, 2 of which are here, and she is just full of wisdom and advice when it comes to parenting and raising children with compassion and awareness and emotional regulation. And Gemma's obsessed with her and got me onto you. And now I'm ready to pick your brain. And the big thing that I think we have in common, and I was like, let's kick off with this, is that I am very passionate about self-compassion because I've been on a huge journey of my own with healing and my mental health. And the key, like the thing that cracked the code for me finally was when I found compassion for myself. And I know that is a very big part of what you teach to whether you're working with parents or whether you're working with children. And not only have you done all those amazing things, you then started a school. Like,
it's just
who
next
starts
level.
a school? I don't know how you do that.
No, I think you think in your head like, I want to start a school. But then like there's only some people who can get out of bed and actually
That's the 1%.
Well, I
that
actually
is the
think
1%.
there's only a few people who are crazy enough to do it. That's
Yes.
my take
But
on it.
I sort of feel the same. You're just one of those people, obviously, because you're also the person who wrote a book and then wrote another book. So
you get shit
obviously,
done.
Yeah, get shit done.
yes.
Very ambitious.
I
But
mean, yeah.
can I just ask the first question? Because
Yes, go ahead.
I don't actually know the answer to this, even though I've listened to lots of podcasts and I've followed your Instagram journey. How did it all start?
Well, I actually started, if we go way, way back, when I first kind of finished school, I went traveling and then I started my first company when I was 20, which was actually a children's entertainment company. So it was around the same time as the Wiggles were starting, right? So I
Could have been watching you tomorrow in concert.
Yeah. No. I hung up my performance thing after when I had my first child. I was like, I can't entertain everyone else's. I've just got my own. So, that's what made me stop it. But I started my first business when I was 20, which was basically entertaining kids at birthday parties. And then we'd put on big shows and all that kind of stuff. And I grew a team of people. And then I had my son when I was 25. So I was quite young, and I had a really traumatic birth experience with him. And then when my daughter came along 3 years later, I had this amazing birth experience that just blew me open, was really healing. And it woke something up in me that was like, I want to help women have that kind of experience. So I actually just closed my business. I didn't sell it. I just kind of went, no. I mean, my husband's like, but Lael, there's all this stuff here. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it anymore. This is where I want to go. And I've always been one of those people where I have to follow my heart and my passion.
The purpose,
I only do stuff that is like, this is what's important for me. So I then threw myself into birth. So I trained to become a childbirth educator. I was a doula for a really long time. So I got to go to lots and lots of births.
Oh my God, that must be, like, I always think, what an incredible thing to witness.
It's an incredible privilege to be there when a baby's born.
Oh my gosh.
It's also it's big work, because you see a lot of stuff that's not great. You see a lot of trauma. Birth doesn't always go the way we want it to go.
Yeah.
But what is so beautiful about it is you are with a family at the most rawest moment of life, and it is such a beautiful privilege to be there and to hold space. So working as a doula really taught me about being in the uncomfortable. It taught me about being with big feelings, being able to be present when a lot of stuff was going on, because as you know, giving birth's a huge experience. No matter how you do it, it's a huge experience. So I did that for a long time. I also started working a lot with postnatal trauma. So really people that had had traumatic experiences. I did a lot of counselling and working with families that had had tricky experiences. And then I had my third child, and I had a really challenging experience with her coming into the world, and had a bit of a life or death experience, and ended up with PTSD after that experience, and much like you, had to learn how to heal. And that's where my compassion work started to come in, because the only way through an experience like that was with compassion. I did all the things of, I'll do this modality, that'll fix me, and this will fix me. And I tried all the things. I did
pain
everything.
Doesn't heal pain.
Everything. Until I realized that actually I needed to lean towards it and be compassionate and actually really heal myself from the inside out, which was the most extraordinary thing for me. It was such a gift. So that was like 17 years ago now. My youngest is 17.
Wow, so each child came with a big
every journey, every child brought a whole new thing for me. And so after I went through that big experience with my third child, I really wanted to understand how we heal trauma. And so I wanted to understand how we heal trauma in babies and in children, because I knew I was traumatized, and I looked at my little baby and I was like, she is traumatized. I can see it in her body. Her nervous system was wired. She spent the first 4 days of her life in a coma. She had every test under the sun. Like, I didn't get to hold her till she was like 10 days old. All the things that we know are really important for mums and babies in the beginning. We didn't get to have any of that. And I knew enough from working in birth that those things are really important. So I was like, how do we heal that when we don't have it? So eventually when I got her home and, we all kind of settled, I thought there's a lot here for me within this, but there's also a lot for her. So I actually then came across something called Aware Parenting, which is the work of Dr. Aletha Salter. And she really talked about how we help children and babies heal from trauma when we've had experiences like that, which was really about being with feelings and connecting and holding space, to almost tell your story of how it was. So I then threw myself into learning more about that, and then just started working with families around that, like doing a lot of healing in my own family for myself, and then just working with other families. And then as my kids kind of grew and we moved through that, I ended up stumbling across teaching sex education to teenagers for 5 years, which was a super fun job. Only because I went to my son was in high school. One of his coordinators knew that I was a childbirth educator and said, can you come and talk to the year 9s about birth? And I was like, yeah, for sure. So I went in, I did the most wild presentation on birth. Like, these year 9s were like, wow, this was just epic. And then afterwards, as I left, I said to the coordinator, are you talking to the kids about consent and pornography and all this stuff? And he's like, no, like, we're not. And I was like, you need to be. And he's like, well, do you want to come back and do it? And I was like, yes.
Oh my
and
gosh.
so all of a sudden I was like madly researching, learning, and just created this, education program for teenagers on what I called pleasure-based education, which was all the information I wanted to know when I was 15 and never got told.
We got
Right? Nothing.
Oh, guys, come on. We got the inside of Dolly magazine.
Oh, yeah, apart from Dolly Doctor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Guys.
So then I just kind of went, right, I saw there was a need for it. And then all of a sudden schools were hearing about me. And so I ended up teaching sex ed for 5 years.
Unreal.
All around secondary schools, which was amazing because I love teenagers and I learned so much by working with them. I always feel like nothing's wasted and nothing you do in your career is ever wasted. And I think working with those teenagers helped me have this whole other perspective as well. And at the same time, my kids were going through, puberty and becoming teens. And then it was probably 8 years ago that one of my clients was sitting on my couch, because my base work was really as a therapist. And she just was talking about her son starting school and how much he hated it. And, she was like, God, is this what school is? And I was like, yeah, kind of, pretty much. And she just said to me, what if we built a school? And I kind of laughed and went, don't be ridiculous. I don't know how to build a school. I don't even like education. And she was very much around, well, I've got the money and the funds to do it. Why don't you build the school that you think should exist? Which is not something that people really get offered. But, she was so passionate about, I think, the work that I was doing, but also about what she wanted for her own children. So then I spent the next 3 years creating Woodline Primary, which is not easy. There's a reason why people don't build schools because it's very hard.
It sounds kind of hard.
Yeah, it was. It was crazy. But Mel and I did it together and we've now been open for 5 years now, which is amazing.
Unbelievable.
And
how many
really
students do you have?
I think at the moment there's around about 85 students.
Okay, so it's reasonably
so it's a small school. Yeah, we will never be bigger than like 120 students, because the way that we do it, you actually need smaller class sizes and you also need
that interpersonal
connection. You really, really need those intimate relationships. I don't think it can work on a larger scale. We
How
are
lucky
still
are
growing.
those 85 kids?
Yeah,
It'll be so
seriously.
interesting to see where they go with their lives.
Yeah, it's really beautiful to have created something that is different, and is also an alternative to what is out there. Our education system's got lots of challenges with it, which, is like many of our big systems. And really what we wanted to do is just create an alternative of what would it look like if we kind of put children at the center of the story, if we help children get back to nature, if we really focused on play and all those beautiful things that we know help set up those functions for kids around using their bodies and learning through repetition, but playing and finding what lights them up and following their leads and passions of learning. So we really were lucky enough to set up a school or a space where kids could explore in these ways. So I feel really proud of what we've done. Like, it's not perfect. No school's ever perfect. There's lots of stuff that, is tricky still in our current day system. But I feel excited about what we are learning and what we're doing and what is possible for the future
It's
within
extraordinary.
Yeah.
I just was talking to friends today about the school system and about, someone was asking me about my oldest son. I have so many personal questions I want to ask, but also make sure they're really relevant about kids who are, potentially really talented in sports or music or extracurricular things, and then they're not particularly strong in an academic and way. And I think the school system, even when it tries to make way for those children, it really doesn't. And they get sort of stuck on this hamster wheel. But I'm not sure that the alternative really even exists in Melbourne. I mean, I know that your school is a bit out of Melbourne, but I think, and I was even looking, into I'm thinking now about high school, obviously, because
Explain to me that. I'm a bit confused. What do you mean? So Darcy's excelling at sport, but not at academics?
So he's not good at academics. It's just never going to be his thing, right? And he's at a really academic focused school. Like, we chose the school not because of that at all. We chose the school because it was part of our community, and he has made beautiful friendships there and his relationships are really good. And no school is perfect. I have lots of issues with the school and there's lots of things I love about the school. And I know that would be the same, and I'm sure you can attest to this, Lael, that wherever you go, you're going to have those things. However, I look at him and I see a kid who's playing at 9 years old in a state team for sport. He's really talented at music, and learning is hard for him. everyday academic classroom learning is hard, and also he really doesn't like it. He doesn't want
Hard
to.
relate.
He's us, okay?
Yeah.
Well, not so much me, but yeah. I mean, I love music. I was good at school, academics. So were you.
I
were,
wasn't.
though,
I
Dena.
wasn't. I didn't care. I didn't
You
give
didn't
a
care,
fuck.
but it wasn't hard for you, I don't think. You know what I mean?
It was hard. Like maths to me
Okay,
was like
maths.
gibberish. It was like another language.
I don't know if
didn't
our
understand-
listeners or everybody knows this, but Dena has like definitely got something
like maths
not quite right in
dyslexia
that.
or something.
Yeah, it's
Something's not quite
like
right.
when you start about numbers, we're all terrible at maths. And the funny story is, and people will love to hear this, our parents met at extra maths lessons.
They met. They met at maths help class. Like, what chance did I have?
So we had no
so
hope,
cute.
and we're all bad at maths. Like we might not be like as bad as Dena, but we're all
Yeah.
bad at maths. But the minute
I
you
get, like,
mention
panic.
numbers, Dena starts to like actually. So Darcy doesn't have that. He's actually good at math.
Oh.
But he just is not going to be a kid who he never wants to do his homework. He's not going to, you know, but he is so gifted in his emotional capacity, his emotional intelligence. And I just feel that schools just, I feel like I'm getting lost in my thoughts, but those kids kind of get lost and overlooked because they are like not a problem, if that makes sense.
It's kind of, I think when we look at education, we have to remember it was set up in the industrial age, which was all about creating workers. So the whole like
Productivity.
9 to 3, teach everybody the same thing, we'll teach you how to think, and that's how it was designed for a time where we needed workers to do stuff. But the world is very different now, and what we really need is creative thinkers. We need people who question stuff, who think outside of the box. And I think as time has gone on, we've begun to learn and realise that we all learn differently. Some people learn through their hands, some people learn through moving their body, some people learn best by speaking back what they're hearing, and that's how they anchor it in their body. And there's some kids that do beautiful rote learning where they can sit, look at the board, take the information. That's how they learn. And I think education's trying hard to meet the needs of lots of different children. But I think our systems are not set up, structurally for, exactly like what your son is. Like he will probably cruise through because he's good, right? And he's not pushing back. And really in most big systems, we go towards the squeaky wheel, which is usually the kids that are like, I like this, or just, making a lot of noise because we're like, how do we meet you? And so there are a lot of kids that I think slip through the system a bit because they're good kids and they're probably pretty compliant and they just get on with it even though they don't like it. And, I relate to that. My 3 kids didn't fit the system at all. My son was an athlete like yours, unless there was a soccer ball attached to his foot, he didn't care. Like sitting at a desk and working was just like pulling teeth for him. And I used to say to him, mate, you've just got to get through these few years and then you can do what you want to do. And he actually did year 11 and 12. We've got this great thing here in Victoria called SEDA, which is SEDA, and it's a sports school for year 11 and 12. So you can do soccer, you can do football, you can do cricket, swimming. It's amazing.
Oh, wow.
And the learning through year 11 and 12 is all about you learn through the sport that you're doing. So it was amazing. So we took him.
That's incredible.
We took him
Where's
to his
that?
place. They're all over in Victoria, and I think they're in places in Australia. Yeah, you can go search it up.
Okay.
And it's only year 11 and 12 at this stage. But it was like
Gosh,
the
I would have
magic.
loved that for dancing.
Me too. Yeah, it was amazing for him because all his lessons were about all the numeracy and literacy was all related to football, right?
brilliant.
So
all
it
of
was
a sudden it matters.
there's contracts of players. How much money are we selling them for? Like how much do we need for this? They play soccer every day. They train, teach them about their body, public. So it was beautiful. It was the best for him for a kid that was all about sport. It was beautiful. So he did his year 11 and 12 through there and he thrived and it was really, really amazing. So I think there's things that are out there. We have to sometimes go searching for them, which is tricky. But and I think even what we're doing at Woodline, what we're trying to do is open it up a little bit to go, how does everybody learn and give kids more choice and autonomy in how they do learn? But unfortunately, a lot of our systems aren't set up for that. And that's tricky because then what we do is we often make children wrong when they don't conform and fit into the system. And I think that's what I feel very passionate about is that these beautiful kiddos that are here at the moment, they push back on a lot of this because they're like, it doesn't feel good, right? I don't want to be sitting down for this many hours a day. I need to move my body. I need to learn through other ways. And I think these kids are kind of pushing back a bit and it's tricky. I feel for both sides of the camps, the parents and the kids, and also our systems and education. It's a very tricky thing.
With someone with your level of ambition and drive, you've written books, you've opened a school, you've helped thousands of families. Do you feel like what do you feel your purpose is? And do you feel that there's still more for you to come? Like, I'm just like, what's the trajectory here?
What's next? Yeah.
Yeah.
I started at birth and we've kind of worked our way up to here. So, I mean, a lot of my work at the moment is mainly working with adults. And the work is really about helping adults understand their own stories so that we can be the best version of ourselves. Because what we do is we're born into this family. We take on board all these imprints and stories unconsciously. We watch our family unit and we go, oh, that's how you do relationship. Oh, that's how you feel about money. Oh, that's what you do around food. Like, we watch and we often don't know the imprints that we're taking on board. And then we grow up and then we often just keep repeating those imprints, and some of them work beautifully for us and some of them actually don't. And then, we then have children, if we're lucky enough to have children, and then our beautiful little kiddos come along and they just hold a mirror up to us to shine a light on all our shit and basically are like, you need to work on this, this, this and this. And they do that often through their behaviour or just who they are. Because what they're doing, they're trying to say to us is, hey, I need you to sort out your crap so you don't place it on my shoulders, because that's often what we do. We just unconsciously take all the burdens from what we learn, then place it on the next generation and we keep going.
I think I heard you say once in a podcast, correct me if I'm wrong, but something like, it is never our children's responsibility to make us feel better or to hold our feelings. Yes. And I was like, bingo. Yeah, like I do not need my child to be my therapist or my holder of space. Like that is not my child's job.
No, it's not. And I think I think I see this with this generation of parents that are here now. I think these are some of the most courageous parents because we have access to information and research, and we are at a time where we actually can afford to do the work on ourselves. Whereas our parents' generation, our grandparents,
have the information.
No, they didn't have the information.
They just had
didn't
to
have support.
go on what they felt or what they'd learnt or seen.
Yeah. So what we've got now, I think, is this generation of parents who are actually starting to go, wow, actually maybe that is harmful when I'm, coercing my kids in doing these things, or I'm projecting my anger onto them. And we've got this incredible opportunity in time right now to know more about social and emotional awareness, that we can begin to do our own work. So I think for me, and coming back to your question about kind of the purpose, for me really at the moment it is about helping adults understand themselves so they can be better humans in the world and also better parents. And, I feel like, I don't know what's kind of coming next, but I feel like this work now is really around helping adults come home to themselves. That's what I often say when I'm working with people, which is that we all have this beautiful...
the title of your book, by the way.
Own Your Story.
Yeah.
We all have this beautiful, authentic self that sits within us, but a lot of the time we can't be that because we're conditioned by society, the imprints that we've carried from our family of origin. And I find that what adulthood is mostly now is learning to undo all those things to come back to the truth of who we are. And for me, what I feel really passionate about is helping adults unpack that so they can be better humans.
It's beautiful. I as I said, I just had a therapy session, so I'm like deep in thought with all of this. But I said to my therapist, which is kind of in line with what we're talking about, I said, like, I have so much mum guilt and fear and shame around passing down my trauma or my mental illness. I've suffered with addiction in my life, and like my biggest fear is that I'm going to pass this down to my perfect little 2-year-old, and she said to me, she's like, well, wouldn't you be the best mum there is if she does come to you with those problems? Like, who better than you? And I got really emotional. She's like, Dena, you've worked harder than anyone I know. If your daughter comes to you, dealing with mental illness and addiction, who better than you to guide her through it?
You are.
Yeah, and I got emotional because she's like, who knows, if these things will be handed down genetically. Who knows? We don't know, but at least you will have the tools and capacity to be able to guide her. And that made it help the guilt a little bit. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have, can I just say, you just should not have any guilt about it as well. Like, I feel like that's a huge thing is that you also, I'm not your therapist, but there should be no guilt about trauma. And I'm sure you can.
Yeah, I think, what you're saying, Dena, is it's so normal to have this fear of like, I don't want my daughter
Yeah,
to
it's a
feel
fear.
this stuff.
It's a fear.
Yeah, of course. And that makes sense, right? That just shows how much you love her, because you're like, I don't want her to have to navigate the tricky stuff I've had to navigate.
I didn't want to have a girl because I was like, if I have a girl, she's going to go through the things I've had to go through, because a lot of mine's been connected to hormonal health and stuff. And I was like, it's just really hard doing the human experience as a female.
It is really hard.
So when
How hard is it? It's so hard.
When I found out I was having a girl, I started crying. I was like, no, I don't want her to suffer.
No.
But you know what I want to say too is that you are having these conversations, you are leaning into this work, you are doing the work. It is already different. It is already different for your daughter, because you are aware of these pieces, you are raising her with a different level of consciousness and connection. You know, she's going to have her own stories, right? So, I mean, I think the thing I say to parents all the time, there's no perfect parent at all. And you have to prepare yourself that your kids are going to have shit, right? Because
no doubt about
they're
it.
they have to experience life, and life is messy, and they're going to bump up against things that don't feel good. I remember so clearly when my daughter was about 14 or 15, and, you know, I'd done all this healing work and I was raising my kids consciously. I was doing all the play, all the connection, all the listening to feelings, all the things. And then when she was about 14 or 15, she started to get really anxious about something. And I remember thinking, no, you can't have anxiety. I've done everything right.
Not allowed.
No, I've done all these things. You're not meant to be like that. And then I remember looking at her going, of course she's meant to be like that. She's human. She's having a human experience here. And I remember laughing at myself thinking, oh my God, this illusion that we create, if I do all these things, it will mean this. But actually the work of parenting is being able to be in the uncomfortable with our children.
Yes.
And to not fix it, to not jump in and try and make it better, but to sit with them in it. And when we do, and they feel us beside them in that way, then what happens is they are then resourced with the tools to be able to move through whatever's there. And that's the goal. The goal is to resource our children with these beautiful tools to be able to navigate the tricky things that surface.
Yeah, it's very hard not to be a fixer as a parent. I think it's probably like the hardest thing for me personally as a parent. And I'm so aware of myself when and as you say, that's already a big thing that I'm aware of it. But, you know, Das will come to me or Amy will come to me, something happened at school. And it's just your go-to instantly in my head. I'm like, oh, well, I know exactly what you should do, obviously.
Yeah.
I know what you need to do. Instead, you know, I need to say to them, listen, and then say, would you like me to give you some advice?
Yes.
And almost always the response is no. I don't want advice.
Yeah,
they
so
don't want advice, and nor do we. Like, we didn't want that from our parents.
We just wanted to be heard.
Like, we're going through, like, now with Darcy just about soccer. And he gets in a mood when Ben starts to talk to him, because he's 9, he's changing, his body's changing, you know, hormones, of course, come into it. He used to love when Ben broke the game down with him and they talked about it, and it's like a fun family thing. And now the minute Ben will like address the game or want to talk about it, he's like proper like moody. And, you know, he's not a moody kind of a kid, but he just turns. And I said to Ben, I don't think he wants your advice anymore. And I think you need to just keep quiet. And if he comes to you or he raises something with us, then we can talk about it. But I don't think he wants us.
Yeah, he's changing, he's developing.
They're beautiful observations. And I think this is the work of parenting, is the attunement to our kids to see where it is, because it's constantly going to move and shift as they grow. And so our job is to be connected and attuned to them, to be able to read those cues and to be able to lean in sometimes, and to also be able to lean out. And, you know, what you're doing so beautifully by saying, hey, I'm just going to listen. Do you need any advice? And then just letting them, you know, letting that land, is that they are going to have this foundation that says, hey, I can come to you when things are tricky because you listen well. Because that's actually all kids want. They just want to be heard. Or that's what we all want. We just want to be heard, right? But that trickiness around our uncomfortableness and a need to fix or try and stop the train wreck that we can see happening, is we have to get comfortable with just being in that with our kids, because they have to experience hard things. It's how they're going to learn. It's how they're going to grow. And the difference between experiencing something hard and it becoming a traumatic experience is is there someone there that's safe to turn to?
100%.
Is there someone there I can turn towards who will hold the space for these feelings for me
and understand what's going on for me,
not judge me, you know, and when we get to bring it there and leave it there, then what happens is we offload the big stresses and then we open ourselves up to possibility of what's meant to happen next. So that beautiful job you're doing of just listening, this is what's going to pay off when, you know, Darcy's at a party when he's 16 and something dodgy goes down, he'll be like, let's ring mum and dad. They'll know what to do.
Yeah.
Right. And they'll call you and they'll come to you.
Yell at me.
And that's what we want, right? We want them to know that you are the safest place for them to come when things are really hard. And kids get that when we can be with them in the uncomfortable and we're centered enough, because often what we do is jump into the drama with them, right? So we freak out with them, or we just shut it down because it feels too big, or we turn away. We're dismissive, right? So what they need to know is that we can sit there in the fire with them and go, this is not too big for me. And what else? And tell me more. And all those things is what creates that beautiful imprint of safety for them to go, there's nothing too big that I can't bring you.
Yeah, because I think like back to parenting, you know, I didn't know anything about parenting until I had a kid, and I didn't have any friends who had kids or anything. And then you get hit with this thing. And when you started talking first about how you started with birth trauma, I was like, oh, no wonder I feel connected to you, because that's the start of my story as well. And from then on, I just developed a passion as well, just an absolute passion for all things children, parenting, and, you know, Dena knows better than anyone. I'm just like, it's 24/7 in my brain. It's like what I think about. And
we're very different parents. To like to give you an example, when
mum's example.
Yeah, my mum's example of us as parents is when Gemma drops her boys off to stay at mum's house, she sends like a printed out list of what needs to be done, what they need to eat, what time they go to bed,
Yeah.
And I'll call.
She'll call
every hour. How's it going? What's happening?
Me, I show up. I'm like, here's Maya. I don't even take it back.
Maya at my house when she was like 3 months old, or not even. I was like, you needed to go do something. Like Dena really needs her like space to do her things. And that's also like a big thing. We've been different. I've never been like, I'm massive on exercise and like I need that. But other than that, I'm happy to have my kids like 24/7. Never bothers me.
Yeah.
Dena really needs that time away and super healthy. So I was like, just drop her at me. I can't wait to have her. So she drops Maya at me. She didn't bring a porta cot. She didn't bring a sleeping bag.
I didn't bring anything.
She didn't bring anything. I was like, Dena, my kids are kids. Like, they're not babies. I don't have anything.
I don't know. Like with my mom, like, you did it with 3 of us, you'll be right. Like, figure it out.
Yeah.
So we're very different parents in that sense. And I tend to be a lot more relaxed and laid back with my parenting.
I heard Alex describe it as fluid.
Alex calls me very, very fluid with my parenting.
I admire it massively. Like I want to
be like you. I think it's incredible. I think you're the most amazing parent, and your boys are true examples of that. You have the most delightful boys.
But I could definitely be more. It's not that I'm not fluid actually, because I think I'm very chilled with them, as in like what we do.
But internally in your head,
but
I'm
like the swan, you know, like I'm like as calm as anything, but you know, anxious inside, like paddling.
I had a recent proud parent moment, which I wanted to share, because I think, it's the first time I've gone, I think we did something really good here. So Maya she's just turned 2. She all of a sudden developed this like terrifying fear of the bath. But like to the point where like it wasn't just her putting on an act, like she was shaking and terrified and scared, and she just would not have a bath, which is a really big problem. Like she has to bath, she has to clean. So for weeks we were like thinking of ideas of how we could work with this, and we had to sit in that place with her. And so we like brought a tub out and we put it in front of the TV with all her Barbie dolls in front of the tub, and she would just put her toes in and let us wipe her down. And so then it was like that for a few weeks. And then it like we bought like just different toys and games, and then we got her in the bathtub with no water and just a swimming costume and pretended we were like playing. We just tried so many things, and then all of a sudden this week she's back in the bath like nothing ever happened. She's just like totally not one bit scared. Last night she was like, Mama, bath? And I was like, oh, with Mama, because I love having our bath time together. And I was like, yeah, you want Mama to come in? She's like, yeah, bath. Like as if like I'm the crazy one. I was like, and so we got in the bath and we just had this beautiful time together. And Alex and I looked at each other and we were like, we did it. We did it. Like we got like, it sounds silly, but at 2 years old, a kid not wanting to bath is a really difficult. And that time of night, you know, it's like 6 o'clock and you're just like trying to get out of bed. And
you're so cooked.
Everything's just so crazy at that time of night. And I was just like, I can't, this is ridiculous. Like she would put on like what seemed like a hysterical performance, but she wasn't putting it on because I could see her nervous system was actually shaking.
It sounds like to me that there was a fright somewhere that happened.
She made a poo in the bath.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So, and you know what happens for children in those moments is they freeze, and so their body just goes, this is unsafe. And then anything that remotely resembles that fear or that fright activates something in their system, right? And then you did so beautifully, because the way that we usually help children when there's fright or shock in their body is through play. So we laugh, we play, we give them power in what they're doing, we let them be in control of it. And I have such a fundamental belief that children know what they need to do to heal. So when there's been a shock, when there's been a trauma, they do it through crying, they do it through playing, they'll do it through talking, they do it through laughing. And so you so beautifully like making it safe and taking time and trusting her timing is amazing, because that's actually what can happen with kids. They can actually just go from this terror to laughing to playing to then being like, okay, done. And we're often sitting there going like, what the hell? Like what happened to you? But
we've not recovered.
Yeah, we haven't recovered, because we often think I need to talk about it and unpack it and take it to my therapist. And, you know, we stay stuck in it. But often children are so good at moving through the stuff
just
when
like
we give them the space to do it.
Yeah.
And I really do believe that. I say to parents all the time, if we give children the right environment to heal, they will always bring the healing. So they'll play certain games to make sense of stuff. They'll want to play a game where they have control if they've felt powerless. They will cry over things that seem really ridiculous, but that is the release of the stress and the trauma in their bodies. So they're so clever. They have this inbuilt healing mechanism, but amazing. I think, just get in the way all the time.
Yeah. It's almost like an inbuilt resilience as well. It's quite
isn't
beautiful.
It the same as like the human body understanding how to heal
Yes.
intrinsically even from a medical perspective. Like our bodies know how to heal. Every single day we're renewing cells, we're rejuvenating ourselves. It's that same concept, isn't it? So we actually do know how to heal. It's just either as adults we get in the way of ourselves, but as children, adults get in the way or
Society.
Historically we were told, don't be silly.
Yeah, totally.
Don't be silly. That is like a phrase that you just heard parents and teachers and I definitely remember being at school being told, don't be silly, don't be ridiculous.
And it makes sense as to when I look at a lot of the adults I work with who are struggling emotionally or there's mental health stuff, right? And we kind of track back a bit and I ask them the question, you know, when you were a kid, what happened when you got upset or when you made a mistake or you did something wrong? How did your parents respond to you? Now, the majority of people said they were either sent to their room, they might have been yelled at, you know, maybe they were punished in some way, perhaps they were ignored. It's rare that I meet someone and I say, you know, when you were upset or you were scared or you made a mistake, did that adult sit down with you, look in the eye and say, I'm here. Tell me more. I've got you. Like, and just held space for all those feelings. Now, I've asked this question of thousands of people and rarely one or two will put their hand up and go, yeah, my parents could do that. Now, this is no judgment on our parents. Our parents were doing the best they could. They were doing what was done to them, our grandparents, all that kind of stuff. So it makes a lot of sense when we get to adulthood now why we're carrying our baggage and our stuff going on, because we weren't taught safe ways to feel our feelings. This beautiful inbuilt healing mechanism that we have, which is to cry, to laugh, to talk, to process, was kind of shut down in most of us when we were little. So we then kind of have this locked in imprint within us and then we carry it through life and we get to adulthood and we bump up against stuff, which is what we're meant to do. But it can feel like such a stretch to move to the compassion, as you said so beautifully, or to go, oh gosh, I really need to cry and give ourselves permission to actually do it because we're really taught to actually repress those feelings and to push them down and to either just keep working hard or numb them with something else and not actually feel.
Yeah. And then they become anxiety.
Yeah, totally. And
depression.
We can't have any judgment because we're only doing what we were taught. You know, this is a symptom of our culture that we've lived in for a really, really long time. And this is where I think I feel really hopeful for humanity, because when we start with our children and we do it in a different way, then what happens is that becomes their imprint.
Yeah.
That becomes the core in them to know how to be with stuff. And I look at, like, my oldest is 25, and then I have a 22-year-old and a 17-year-old. And all three of them work with children. Like, my oldest is a disability support worker, and my middle child works with teenagers, and my youngest one works at my school. And their ability to hold space for kids is better than most adults I've ever met, because they have an embodied sense of what it feels like to be met with feelings. So, you know, as kids, what we tried to do, when they were kids, is we tried to listen to their feelings and not shut it down and help them process their big anger and in ways that are healthy, that they then have this story that says, hey, it is okay to feel, and I can cry here, and that's okay. And they're not carrying as much baggage. Now, they've still got stuff, because we all do, but their ability to lean into the stuff that's tricky, which for most of us we would have turned away from, that's what blows me away.
That's amazing.
What are your feelings on discipline? Like, for example, for context, like with Maya, I very seldom tell her off. As we said, I'm pretty fluid. Like, yeah, you do your thing, girl. But, you know, if it's her safety is at risk, I'll give her a very firm, like, Maya, no. Like I said, no. Mama said no. You know, and that's kind of as far as it's gone for us. She's a very chilled baby. I
compliant,
always
naturally compliant.
She's just very naturally. Yeah, she does listen. But I am curious what your thoughts are on discipline.
Discipline actually means to teach. That's actually what it means. But I think in our culture, and this has got a lot to do with the way we were raised, we have got this kind of, I think, narrative in our head is that when someone does something wrong, we need to make them feel bad in order for them to do better. And that is pretty much what punishments are. You've done something wrong, so I'm either going to shame you, I'm going to take something away from you so you learn your lesson. But I don't really agree with that, because what I look at is that there is always a reason why we're doing something, right? There's always a reason behind the behaviour. So when we look at children as just naturally, beautifully gorgeous human beings, which they are, right? Their natural nature is to want to connect, is to want to do the right thing. When a child's acting out, there is usually a reason why they're acting out, right? So when, you know, I often talk about the kids are in balance or out of balance. And when a child's in balance, you know, they're usually pretty calm, they're cooperative, they're chatty, they're telling you things. You know, ask them to pick up their shoes and they do. We know when our kids are in balance. And when they're out of balance, it's when they walk into the room and pick a fight with their brother, right? And they, you know, start doing like elbows to the head and, you know, just you can tell when a kid's out of balance because you can feel it in their nervous system, right? And they're usually not cooperative and they push back on stuff. And for me, I always say to parents, that's like a child waving a red flag. It's a kid going, I'm having a hard time and I still haven't learned to be able to own that and express it. I mean, most adults can't do that. Yeah. You know what we're like when we're all like this and you walk into the kitchen and you start picking a fight with your partner because of the way they pack the dishwasher, right? Yeah. Most of us as adults aren't able to walk in and say,
emotionally regulate.
My nervous system's really fired. I'm really triggered around this. I want to pick a fight with you because I want to find a way to discharge this energy. We don't do that. We just go in and pick a fight as well, right? Yet we have these expectations on children to be far more emotionally mature than what we actually often are. So what I come back to with this is understanding that when kids are doing something wrong, right, which they will, they're going to make heaps of mistakes. We want to be able to look behind the behaviour and go, what's going on there, right? So if we come back to your boys for a second, yes, they probably know they weren't allowed to go on safari, but probably what was fueling that was curiosity.
100%.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we know that that's a pretty normal boy thing to do.
Same reason boys look up mannequins, dresses and
all the things, right? They're like, you know, it's going to be a matter of time before a boy types in boobs, right? Because all of a sudden they're like, what is this? And, you know, so how beautiful to be like, we need to talk about what's going on, right? Now, I guess how I always look at it is that we do have things like natural consequences, which is, you know, you could say to your child, pick up your bathers off the floor because you want to go swimming tomorrow. And the child's like, I'm not going to do it. And you're like, well, your bathers are probably going to be wet tomorrow, right? And so you don't pick it up. And then the next day they go to put on their bathers on and they're wet. And, you know, that's the consequence because you actually didn't do it, right? Or you've got pocket money and you've like got $15 to spend and they want to buy this thing that's $14. And you're like, but if you spend it, there'll be no more pocket money for another 2 weeks, right? And that's the money. And they're like, yeah, I don't care. And then they go do it. And then their brother's still got money to spend next week. And then they get annoyed because they don't have money. And you're like, but you spent yours, right? That's the consequence of what it is. I think where we kind of get into a bit more of the punishment stuff is when we are imposing something on the children, whereas a consequence is usually a natural thing that's going to happen from what they've done. Now, I guess the thing is what we want to be looking at always is that are we setting a punishment because that is our belief system that I need to teach you a lesson here and this is how we do it? And is that why we're doing it? Because that's what was done to us. And that's often what comes up for a lot of parents, especially dads. They're like, how am I going to teach them? And I'm like, we teach through connection. So I often tell a story about my son, 15, did the whole, Mum, I'm going to go stay at Charlie's house. And Charlie's like, I'm staying at Kai's house. And they were in either house, right? And so, we figure out, they're not where they say they are. And I'm kind of like, okay, he's lying to us, right? And I had feelings about that. I remember just feeling like, we've done all this great parenting. Why is he lying? I had to deal with my feelings first before I actually even connected with him because I was like, I'm charged here, right? And I've got to own that. So then we message him like, mate, we know you're not where you are. And, I actually gave him an out first. So I was like, how's Charlie's house? And he's like, it's great. And I'm like, really sticking to the line.
I gave you the moment.
So I was like, okay. So anyway, then we messaged him. We're like, buddy, we're going to come pick you up. And so I laughed that he said to his mate Charlie, we've got to go, Mum and Dad know. Charlie's like, oh God, are we going to get in trouble? And my son's like, no, they're just going to sit down and talk to us about our feelings.
I love that.
And I was like, that probably feels like a punishment. Okay. So anyway, we pick him up.
That's so sweet.
We come home and I basically just say to him, I really had to find my center in it because it was one of those things as a parent where you're like, I do all this good stuff and why are you lying to me, right? But it's very normal for kids to lie. It's actually not uncommon.
To push boundaries.
Yeah, of course. They're trying to figure out who they are. So anyway, I say to Kai, the first thing I say to him is that I am really sorry if I have not made it safe enough for you to tell me the truth.
Oh, what a beautiful way
and
to
he
start
just kind of looked at me and he's like, Mum, he goes, we went to this girl's house, right? And he goes, you get so excited when I talk about girls. I just couldn't deal with it. So I didn't want to tell you, right? Aww. So in that moment, I am like, it makes sense why you lied, right? Because he's like, I want some privacy. Yeah. And I just go, oh, buddy, I get it. I 100% get it. And then we had a chat and I was like, look,
what a beautiful way to open that conversation though, to go like, just
I'm
first
like, where's
off,
the why?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same as if he had have done something mean to his sisters or whatever. I'm like, what is happening here? Because I know that you're actually a really good kid. I know that you are kind and connected. And so when you're acting out this way, there's something going on.
Yeah, out of balance.
And it's my job is to find what's going on. So we have the conversation about him going to the girl's house. And I say to him, our value in this family is knowing where you are, is safety, right? It's really important for Dad and I to know where you are. And we give you a lot of freedom to do what you want to do, but this is a non-negotiable. And he's like, got it. And I said, so, let's have this deal. You want to go to the girl's house, that's cool. We will work with that. But, we really need you to be honest with us. And that was the last time he lied about, where he was. Like there's been lots of other things because, they're teenagers and they do stuff. But the bigger picture of that was I could have come down hard on him and taken his phone away and punished him and all that kind of stuff. But often what punishments do is they just teach kids to get better at lying.
Yeah, to hide
I tell a story again. One of my daughter's friends, 13, 14, did something messed up. Her parents got really angry and upset. We're taking your phone off you for a few weeks, right? Now, she was a smart kid. So she went into her room. She got one of the old phones. She changed the cover, changed the screensaver to what hers was, walked into the kitchen, put it on the kitchen table, looked her parents in the eye and said, I know I made a mistake. Here's my phone.
Oh, God.
Right? And then she was just on her phone all night, right?
Smart. Like
of course
manipulation.
But there's teenagers, man. They are so clever. They know how to do stuff. And
it's so scary.
Here's the thing is like my belief is this. We want to keep working on our connection with our kids because what punishments often do is they do, help kids get better at lying because why on earth would they come to you and tell you something because they're going to get in trouble?
Yeah.
And also, again, too, what it can do is that when kids are really scared of being punished, they become very good boys and girls. And that's actually not the goal. We don't want children to be good boys and girls because often what that is them having to abandon themselves to keep everyone else happy. So I think where I look at it with, and I've raised my kids, we've never punished our kids, right? But they've messed up in all the ways, right? But each time they've messed up, we're like, let's sit down, let's get behind what's going on here. Because for me, in every moment when my kids messed up, we would finish the conversation with, what have we both learned? What do we do differently next time? Right. And when we can have that conversation and
stop getting so damn excited about the girls.
Yes, those kind of things. But in each time, what we're doing is saying to you, hey, you're going to mess up and make mistakes. And what is really important here is our connection. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't have boundaries, because we absolutely do have boundaries. So there's times where you need to say no, exactly what you're talking about. You know, if Maya's getting too close to the fire outside of something, you are going to have a big no, don't go there, right? No is really important, but what we do with the no is the key piece. So often we say no to kids and we expect that children will just go, oh yeah, okay, no worries, good limit. Yeah, that's fine, you know, and just do what we say. They don't. They push up against us. They say.
She says no back to me. I go, no. Yeah. She goes, no.
Yeah.
And I go, no. She says, no. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, this is good. She's learning her no, right? But I think with a 2-year-old compared to a 9-year-old, it's different, right? Yes. A 2-year-old is just finding her space in the world. We're going to have no's. We're going to pick up the thing that, you know, she wants off the floor and say, no, darling, I'm not going to give it to you. But the important part is that we hold space for the feelings after that. So we say no to her around it,
and, she has to have
and she's
cry.
allowed to get upset about it. Yeah, and that's the key piece. And
we have
you
a cuddle.
Be upset. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And especially if she's got a big backpack full of feelings that she's carrying around, she's going to look for that no to push up against so she can offload those feelings and come back into balance.
Yes.
Now, a 9-year-old is going to maybe push it a little bit more, right? And you know is going to have to be pretty sturdy, because 9-year-olds have got a much better vocabulary and they're going to come back with, but what about this and how about that? And our job sometimes is to hold our center amongst all of that with the no's, right? And again, hold space for, I know you really want to go to the party, mate, and you can't go, and you know you're allowed to be disappointed about it, but it's a no. And it is so vital that our kids hear our no and that we are really solid in them. I guess the piece where I find that it can be tricky with a lot of parents I work with is that when our kids do mess up and do make mistakes, we still have that story behind us that says we will only teach them if we take something away from them. And that's the tricky bit. Now, sometimes it's appropriate, right? Sometimes we're like, this is blown out too much. They're spending too much time on it. I am actually going to take it away because I really value more connection here. You know, and sometimes that's really appropriate to do it. But I think where I see the biggest issues is when parents come in hard with a default every time a child messes up. That's it, we're not doing this anymore. Or they take something, they have these knee-jerk reactions of things they're going to take away. And then often kids are like, I don't care, whatever, you don't mean it, or, you know, I don't care about
threat,
that thing.
like empty threats.
Yeah. And then kids just go, you don't mean what you say anyway. So for me, I always come back to a boundary comes from a place where we're grounded and anchored. If you are yelling, setting a boundary, then that usually means that you're out of balance, right? 100%. You need a break. Yeah. So when we can say a no from a really grounded, anchored place, it lands differently with kids, right? And that's where the beautiful respect comes, because the respect comes from us holding that container for them, but also, you know, giving them all that beautiful love and connection and gorgeousness that we give them. They need both sides of that to hold them in the bigger picture. And I have a lot of compassion around the punishments and rewards, because it's something we've grown up with, and it can feel really triggering for a lot of people, because especially when we feel out of control as a parent, often the only control that we feel that we have is to power over. And that's where we basically, I'm taking this away, you're not going to this, because we feel out of control. We're like, I have to control this situation. Yeah. I'm gonna come in big and hot.
Yeah.
And that again is, I think, the invitation for us as adults to be like, what's happening for me here? Because if we are activated, if we are charged, then we need to pause and look at what's going on in our bodies. Yeah, it's big. It's a delicate topic.
It feels just like yesterday they were newborns and now they're off exploring the world. Motherhood is a whirlwind and it's comforting to have a few things you can rely on. That's where Little Bellies comes in. Their organic snacks are made with wholesome fruits, veggies and grains. No artificial colours, flavours or additives. And they're tailored to your child's stage from first taste to toddler snacks. Whether it's melts, soft corn puffs, pick-up sticks or biscuits and bars, Little Bellies helps kids explore new tastes and textures while giving parents something quick, easy and nourishing to reach for. Because as your little one grows, Little Bellies stays with products that support both discovery and peace of mind. Find Little Bellies at major retailers and online at littlebellies.com. Little Bellies, do what's natural.
What's the most common problem parents come to you with? What do you think is the most common
I think there's two things. One is, how do I deal with my kids' meltdown? And how do I get my kids to cooperate? Okay. It's kind of like, how do I deal with the big feelings and how do I get them to get in the bath? It's those kind of big things.
How do I get them to put on their shoes?
Yeah.
The spectrum.
Yeah. And for me, the answer to cooperation is usually an easier one sometimes for parents, which is cooperation is all about connection. It's very hard for kids to cooperate when they're not connected. So our job is to get really attuned to our kids. So it's like when they walk in the room, we're doing this little scan of them to go, where are they? The in balance or the out of balance? How are they doing? And when we can kind of tune into them, we can then kind of gauge, all right, you know, if we've had a whole day at daycare or, you know, with grandparents or something like that, and then we get home and then we're trying to get them to get in the bath and do all these things and they've got not much capacity left, then that's probably going to be a bit of a shit show, right? It's probably not going to roll well.
Especially if you don't have much capacity.
Absolutely, yeah. Or if your kids have been at school all day and then they go to soccer practice and da-da-da, and then we get home and their tank is empty and then we're like, you need to do your homework or pick up your shoes. They've like got nothing left. So we have to firstly be attuned to what are my expectations here with my kids and how are they tracking in this moment? And every kid is different. So even with your two children, you might have one who's far more resilient, robust, can push, and you might have one where you're like, nah, can't even go there, right?
Yeah.
They're
And
so different.
You have to, you're going to parent them differently because of their temperament and who they are. And there's nothing wrong with that because, you know, you've probably got one really sensitive kid and one that's kind of got a bit more grit and they can manage different things. So I think we often have to come back to, you know, that when we're looking at cooperation, what is the capacity for my child in this moment? So, you know, mostly with little kids under the ages 5, 6, when we want them to do something, play is a beautiful way to connect with them, to get them to do something.
Make it silly,
playful.
make it fun.
Jump on my back. Let's brush our teeth upside down tonight. Let's brush our teeth hopping on one foot. You know, all the beautiful fun stuff because they cannot resist fun, especially when you're being stupid, right? They're just like, yes, this is amazing.
So true.
So that is a beautiful way to do it. Whereas older kids, you know, again, we're looking at where's their capacity, what's going on. Sometimes they need some just kind of, you know, shadowing beside them. Come on, let's just do this together. Then they've got more capacity to do it. And then there's days where you're looking at them going, they've got nothing left, you know, and there's no point me pushing this or trying to do it because there's nothing there. So I think it really invites us to be attuned to where are they at sometimes and what we can let go of, you know, and what we can kind of push forward with a bit more. So it's tricky.
I think it's amazing how you've managed to take your career with you as you've grown as a parent and a human. I just find that really extraordinary, and I actually can't think of many people that have done that. And so this is not a question, but just want to say, like, I really admire you because I personally have I've been in this place of like exploring what I want to do next, and having come from like a really successful career prior to children, then sinking everything into being a parent and sort of not working that much and teetering and half doing things.
And also becoming like a parenting coach to your whole like group of friends.
To my cohort. and I just really admire and like wish that I could, and not saying that I can't, but wish that I had managed or could manage to do what you did, which was make a career out of your passion and then carry it through. I think that is so extraordinary, and that you are now focusing on adults, but in the end it's really still about the child, because it's the inner child, and then it's the child that they have and who that child is going to become. And I just think, you know, it really resonates with me, because a lot of people have said to me, and I actually was listening even in your episode when you and Alicia were talking about me, how did Gemma go from like being so, you know, working and successful and passionate and doing all these roles and then just stopping? And it didn't feel like that to me, because I just had another passion and another focus, and only one that didn't generate an income. That's a bit of an issue. But, you know, I just think that is just absolutely extraordinary. And I'm super excited to, like, I haven't read your book, your first book, and now I'm like looking at the second one thinking I really, and there's so much to learn. But I do have a question quickly. It's about, for parents listening, and I'm sure there are lots of them who are parents or going to become parents, like, is it ever too late to go back to this work? So you're saying these things and I'm like, oh, shit, I don't think I did that right. Or like these things are coming up in my head and I'm like, oh, damn it, that was such a good moment. I could have done that or connected in that way when you said that. Is it ever too late to repair?
It's never too late, ever. I always love to share. I didn't come to doing this work until like my son was 8. right? So, you know, those first kind of 8 years of his life and my second child, I didn't know any of this, right? I was just making it up as I went, and, you know, I was really not meeting my own needs. I was a pretty stressed mom. I used to yell. You know, I was trying to keep them happy all the time. I did not enjoy mothering. Oh, yeah, man.
I'm really glad to hear this.
I feel like there should be a whole lot of footage out there of what I was like in the beginning, because
Casey Edwards was the same, by the way. She was like, it wasn't until I was 40 that I learned to like 40-something till I learned to like myself.
Yeah. It's true, because I think I was a young mum. I was strung out. We had like heaps of financial struggles. Like, it was not easy. You know, my husband and I were playing the game of who's doing it tougher. He was working all the time. I was at home with the kids. Like, it wasn't harmonious at all. And I did not like being a mum. I was like, I fiercely loved my kids, and then I was also resentful a lot of the time, because I also loved working and my career. You know, it was a juggle, and it was really, really challenging trying to find my place in it. And it wasn't until I had my third child and I went through that big experience where I actually had to drop everything and reassess who I was and do my own big, vulnerable healing journey that made me do the work on myself and those inner parts that then helped me see, how do I turn up for my kids here? And what I say about parenting all the time, parenting is the biggest invitation to do your own inner work. That's what it's about. Our kids come along, they're this perfect mirror, and they're like, I need you to sort your shit out.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what they're asking of us. And so I often say, you know, if you want to be spiritual, you could go and meditate on a mountain for 10 years, or you could just try and raise your kids consciously, 100%.
Right?
It is
I
going
couldn't
to
agree
just
with that more.
Blow you open in those places. But coming back to the healing, so when I started to then learn all this stuff, I remember looking back at those 8 years thinking, oh God, well, have I done a whole lot of damage? But I also had this beautiful belief that I did the best I could with what I had, which we all do, and that, okay, if this is where we are, it's never too late for healing. So what I did is I just put it out there to the universe, and I was like, I am ready to heal whatever needs to be healed. And I'm going to open that up to my children, and I am so open for them bringing me what they need to work with when the time is right. Now, I tell this story, which for me is just encompasses healing, is when my son was 10 and we had a really, you know, not a great birth experience. I felt very disconnected from him when he was a baby. You know, I was a first-time mum. I was in shock, I reckon, for the first year of his life. I was just like, what the hell is this? Of course, I loved him. I fed him all the stuff, but I was not really present. And then I had a second baby, and I had a beautiful home birth with her, and it was very healing, and I fell deeply in love. And I was like, oh my God, that's what it feels like. But I didn't feel that way about my son, right? So all the guilt then comes up, and like all that story's there, right? Many women experience that. And I remember just going, I am so willing for this to be healed when the time is right. And I'd done a lot of work on forgiving myself and going, I did the best I could with what I had at the time. And then when he's 10, one day we're at my in-laws and everybody's swimming, the cousins and everyone's there. And then everybody goes inside to eat hot dogs, and my son and I are the only ones in the pool. And he swims up to me and he goes, Mum, he goes, hold me like a baby. And I'm like, okay. So he's this 10-year-old boy, and I'm holding him in my arms, floating in the water. And he starts like nuzzling into my chest, and he's like, I'm your baby. And I'm like, you are my baby, darling. And I'm just holding him while he's playing out being a baby, right? And then he goes, Mum, hold my head. And he floats in front of me. I'm holding his head, and he floats in the water, and he's got his eyes closed. And for 5 minutes, he's just floating there. And I am like tears pouring down my face, because I am like, we're having a rebirth in the pool, in the backyard in Mulgrave. I'm just like, and I'm like, is anyone seeing this? No one was around. And so he just lay there for 5 minutes, and then he kind of just jumps up, gives me a kiss, and goes, I'm going to have a hot dog, and goes inside, right?
And you were like, shell shock.
I'm just standing there going,
how cathartic,
right? And this is what I've learned over the years, is that healing is always possible, and it often comes at times when we least expect it. And with children particularly, the healing will come when they're ready. But we have to be open for the healing, and the first part of the healing is we have to have forgiveness for ourselves, and we have to be compassionate to ourselves for the places that we stood in. Yeah. So, you know, those first years of parenting where I didn't feel like I was my best, you know, there were times where I shut my kids down and didn't listen to them, their feelings. But then when I decided to, I was like, right, bring it. I'm here. I'm ready. So sometimes they would bring stuff, and I didn't know that it was from when they were years younger, but I could just had this sense of like, oh yeah, this was when you were 4. Like, and all of a sudden as a 9-year-old, my daughter's raging and I'm like, yeah, I know that this is from earlier. And so I just held space for it because it is never too late for healing, right? And I work with many adults who have got a lot of pain around their own parents. And I tell you, every single one of them would love to sit opposite their parent now and hear the words from their parent that says something like, I'm so sorry if I didn't hear you in the way you needed. Or I'm so sorry if I couldn't meet you in the way you needed to be met. Like, I know adults where that would just be so deeply healing for them, you know, and they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, right? So to me, I just go, it is never too late to heal, and it is never too late to start doing this, to just do our inner work, to meet our kids with compassion and empathy, to listen to their feelings, to own when we make a mistake. Like, you know, that is the biggest thing, to repair when we yell, when we mess up, because we are not only modeling to our kids what it is to repair, but we are like, hey, I'm human and I'm here, and tell me what you need from how that felt for you. I mean, that's just incredibly powerful in itself. So, I
think we have a responsibility to do that. I personally feel like you hear a lot in like in AA and stuff, they talk about like the disease is not your fault, but your recovery is your responsibility. And I, as a parent, I feel it is a responsibility to be doing this conscious work and to be raising our children in conscious ways. And like, how are they supposed to have emotional intelligence if we don't have our own emotional intelligence? So I just feel that it's like, if you want the gig of being a parent, you better be ready to do a bit of work.
And it's not easy. Like, doing the work is hard. Like, it's not a picnic. No one wakes up in the morning and goes, gee, I'll just go unpack my childhood trauma today. Nobody wants to do that, right? It doesn't feel good. But if you want to give the biggest gift to your children, it's to know your own story and do your work. Like, that's the work. The work is to be able to catch your triggers, to do your healing, to not project it onto them. Because then what you do is you're kind of giving them the freedom to be themselves.
Like, to actually be who they are. Like,
and that's what we want.
Discover who you are so that they can be who they are.
Like, that for me is it. That I look at my beautiful kids who, you know, have all got their challenges, but I look at them and go, they are so themselves. Like, they are so who they are. And I love that about them in all their weird, kooky ways. I'm like, they are them. They are not playing this, I need to fit into this box to be liked, or I need to look like this in order for you to accept me. They are like, here I am, right? This is what it is. And I'm like,
I love it.
We've done our job.
You've done your job.
Yeah.
You've done your job.
I have to know, just on a side note, was your husband always on board with this approach?
I was about to ask this as well.
Was he like, what is this witchery? What are you making me do?
Oh, he's a beautiful man. He's very willing to follow me. He's so used to me over the years going, so I've got this idea, or I've read this thing.
So I've read this book. I've opened this school.
Because I do this to my husband, and I'm like, so I just want to try this thing with the kids, or like I can just feel him going, shut up. What now? Like, you know, and he's, bless him, like, he's as well. He's so obliging, and so he also was parented so gently that a lot of it comes very naturally to him anyway. Yes. But there are some times where I'm like, I just can I raise something? Like, I just want to mention, and I just feel him going,
okay, here we go. My husband wasn't always on board, but I think once I started to do it and he saw the evidence of it, he was like, yep, I really get this. Like, especially when we started to listening to our kids' feelings, like, that's not a kind of standard thing. You know, when a baby cries, we're usually like, shush them up, or a toddler's upset, we just give them the thing so they shut up. And really, when I was like, let's just be with their feelings, like, let's just sit there and hold space for them to do it. And in the beginning, he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, I don't know, but my gut tells me this is how I would have wanted to be responded to when I was 3. You know, I would have wanted my parent to be like, this is big, honey, isn't it? So the more we did it, the more we began to see how calm the kids were, how they were more cooperative. Like, we just began to see the evidence of it.
And then
he was like, yeah, I get this, you know, I'm totally on board with it. Yeah.
Something interesting while I've got my sis here, and, you know, we're talking about owning your stories and trauma. We were born and grew up in South Africa, and we had, you know, it's interesting because every child perceives trauma in different ways, But we had things happen in South Africa that for me were extremely traumatizing. We had like shootings that happened, and I have this like very vivid, strong memory of being maybe like 3 years old, standing with Gemma on the back porch of our house and vomiting out of fear because mum and dad were going to go out for dinner and I was scared they weren't going to come back. And I looked at Gemma and she looked really scared, and that scared me to see my big sister scared. And it's like, it's all very vivid for me. And I've done like EMDR, and when I do EMDR, it takes me straight back to that like 3-year-old memory. And we've spoken about this a little bit, but like I find it really interesting that like we've had the same experience in many ways, and same parents and same upbringing. But like for me, it came out as such a significant trauma that triggered me into having a dysregulated nervous system, which triggered addiction and all these other different things. And then Gemma's dealt with it in her own way, but like that maybe wasn't a significant trauma for her. Like, do you find that with families that children can experience the same thing but have such different?
Yeah, it's all perception. And what's interesting is a lot of the time things that we perceive as a traumatic event, a lot of the time actually they're not even true. They're our interpretation of what happened.
Yes.
And especially when we're children, we experience something, we make it mean something in that moment, which may not have been actually what was going on, but it doesn't matter because that just locks in the body as that is a fear or that is a trauma or this is dangerous, right? And then that's what we hold on to. So, you know, it's very interesting if people can all experience the same thing, and depending on our temperament, our disposition, our previous traumas, we're going to make it mean something. And I found this a lot actually when I worked in birth, you know, and listening to women's birth stories. You could have 2 or 3 women that would have similar birth experiences. One would think it was amazing. The other one would be highly, highly traumatized by it. The other one would be totally disassociated by it. And, you know, the highly traumatized woman would usually then have a bit of a story where similar themes had happened through her life, right? And it has just added on top of that kind of stuff. So trauma is so complex. It is so big, right? And yes, we can experience certain things and then it can land with us in different ways. And I don't think that's right or wrong. I think it is just who we are as humans, how we process stuff, all those different bits and pieces. Some people take tricky experiences and just power on through and create amazing stuff from it. Others it's going to land in their bodies in different ways. I think we're all such beautiful, unique humans, you know, and we process in different ways within it.
Yeah, and I think there's also, as I'm saying this, that I think there's something to be said about like the age. Like I remember that the fear of seeing my big sister scared was really scary, whereas you probably felt the responsibility to like take care of me.
Yeah, and then I think definitely our childhood we were safe, but in an unsafe environment affected us both. Of course.
Yes.
But in very different ways. Yeah. So I think for me it created like I've always had since having kids, really struggled with like a health and safety anxiety. Yep. And now I know from unpacking that with therapy what that comes from. Like it's growing up in an unsafe environment where I always worried, are my parents going to get killed when they go out? Yeah. Or, you know, I'm never going to see someone again. And that manifests into this really over the top, you know, safety and health anxiety. Yeah. Whereas for you, it was like you had those things that then became depression, which then needed numbing. So it did affect me. I just think it
in different ways.
In very different. It came out in different ways.
And your ages would have made a difference too. Yeah. A 3-year-old's understanding is different to a 6-year-old's understanding. You probably would have had more information that you would have understand, but at 3, information's not so, you know, that's not going to hold you in the same way. You know, I think trauma is such a complex thing. And I think, you know, no matter how we feel about something or where it lands, you know, our work is to be so gentle with ourselves within it, but also find the ways that we can work through it that work for us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the most effective like I went through this phase you know, around 2020 where I was just so unwell. I was so sick. My mental health was just spiraling. I'd moved back to Australia from LA like after having a very big career over there, and I was just like, I've got to get myself well. I was addicted to Xanax. I was like, couldn't function. And anyway, went to a bunch of different treatment facilities and psychiatric hospitals and rehabs, and they were all worse than the next. But then eventually I found this one place where my current therapist works, and she's saved and changed my life in many ways. And we did Gestalt therapy.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm actually studying it now. Yeah, so it's a big full circle moment. I'm studying to be a psychotherapist.
Yay.
But we did this beautiful exercise where she got me to sit in the different chairs and she got me to be the different parts of myself. And, you know, I came in there with so much shame and so much self-hatred and an inability to recover because I just hated this part of me so much, this like junkie addict or this self-destructive part of me that I didn't understand and I had no compassion for. And she got me to sit in the chair and give that person a voice. And she's like, this whole session, we are just going to we'll call it the addict. We're just going to let the addict speak. And I was like, okay, let's hear about how this fucking asshole is trying to ruin my life.
Yes.
And actually the addict had nothing to say, but I'm trying to keep you safe. And I love you so much. And all I'm doing is trying to keep you safe. Yes. And like, I just like broke down and like had this huge realization of like, oh my God, like every part of me, all these parts, like I have so much self-compassion for. They're just trying to keep me safe and they're just scared. Yeah. They're really scared and they've been doing it in dysfunctional ways. Yes. But yeah, the key to recovery and healing for me was finding self-compassion for the different parts of me that I for so long had shamed.
Yeah. And I love that story. I mean, I really honor your courage to keep going there to do it because it is not easy. And I think, you know, a lot of my work, what I talk about with people is welcoming those parts of us that we want to turn away from.
Yeah.
We've all got these inner childs within us that are trying to keep us safe, exactly as you're talking about. We've all got these parts of us that are scared of not being accepted or being laughed at or being made fun of. And so when we're in social situations or we have to stand up at work and talk or something goes on at school with all the mothers, you know, we get this alarm bell that goes, don't go there, don't say something, all these kind of parts of us that are just like, remember what happened last time, this is what's going to happen again. And yet we judge that anxiety or we judge the feelings that sit there because we make them wrong because we should be fine. Whereas actually they're just messengers. They're just parts of us saying, hey, this was scary last time and I don't want to do that. And part of it is learning to work with those parts and say, actually, I hear you. Thank you for letting me know, but you're not letting the show. You know, the adult me is able to be here. And I mean, I find this most of the time that most people are really just wounded children walking around in adult bodies.
100%.
That's what we're doing. And then we bump up against each other, right? And then we make it their fault and project onto them. And this is, again, it really speaks to doing the work of being able to own what is ours because, you know, these parts that are in all of us, you know, that we turn away from or we try and push down and hide are just parts of us that are trying to keep us safe. You know, our whole sense of being is about protection.
Yes.
You know, we are always protecting ourselves. And so when we can welcome that and let those parts of us know that there is an adult here who is capable and has a voice and has choice and has autonomy, then we actually put them in the places where they're meant to be, you know, which is behind us and sitting there quietly so that we can lead forward.
Running the show with dysfunction. Do you have any... I'm conscious, very sad about timing.
I could honestly probably sit here for like another 4 hours.
I know. Whenever we have amazing guests like Lael, we just like want to sit forever. But did you have any final questions for Lael?
No, but I just wanted to repeat something that I heard on another podcast about you. And it was that one of your kids, when they were asked what you do, and their response was, she works for the kids.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I am so obsessed with that. And I've decided that's what I want my kids to say about me, but I'm also adding and the dogs.
That's so true about you. Gemma has saved, like it's kind of creepy. She has saved so many dogs' lives, like swimming into oceans to like rescue, like it's really weird. She's got all these stories of saving dogs.
I think that things find you, like I really, really do. And I think that I just feel so privileged to have this space and time with you. Like it was just like me here with the Dalai Lama, like learning all the things that I want to know. And I'm super, super grateful to you for taking the time and so grateful to Alicia for being sick.
Thanks, Leah, for being sick. Well, I'm so grateful
beautiful.
to you, my co-host, best
God,
friend.
it's been so nice. Ari's going to be so jealous.
I know. We'll have to
We
poison
have
Alicia.
to do a sister episode though. Like,
we'll
100%.
100% do a
so
sisters
fun.
episode.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lael, so much for coming. It's such a privilege. I hope we'll get to have you back again soon,
would
because I
love
have
to come back.
5,000 more questions, and I feel like we just scratched the surface. I know you have a book coming out next week. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it's called Own Your Story. It's a book for everybody, so it's not a parenting book, but
I'm
really
just going to
is.
get it here.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Really, it's about what we've talked about a bit today, about the imprints that we receive as kids and how they impact who we are in the world. So we have great imprints, like some that are amazing and service, but then we have a whole lot of imprints that actually don't work for us. And really, it's about helping to unpack them, what works for you, what doesn't, and how we can shift and change them when it doesn't work. And really, I think a lot about what we've talked about today, it's about knowing ourselves and understanding our story so we can be the best version of ourselves.
Yeah. What I really took from today is like, if you want to be the best parent, it's like, it's up to you to continue doing the work on yourself. And like, that's the best thing you can do.
100%. I always say it doesn't matter if, you're feeding your kid all the organic foods and they're only playing with wooden toys and they're only going to this kindergarten or whatever it is, right? If you are not looking at your stuff and owning your shadow, then it doesn't matter what you're feeding them and all the things you're doing right, because ultimately you are the imprint for your child. Yeah. And so who you want your child to be in the world, well, it starts with you, right? Yeah. They cannot be what they can't see. So if we want our kids to be empathetic, compassionate, brave, bold, curious humans, you have to be that yourself so they know the way to go.
So cute. I think we're doing a pretty good job. I'm proud of us.
I think we're doing all right.
The other day,
or if our kids are a reflection of us,
yes,
then I think we're doing a great job.
I think we're doing a good job.
I obviously, you see your kids through your own eyes. So I think my kids are just beautiful.
Your kids are phenomenal.
But I look at Maya and I'm like, you are nailing it, because she's just the most divine.
I reckon I'm nailing it with Maya. I don't know what I'm doing right, but something is. She's just the best. But the one more thing I was going to say, the other day, I had a little breakdown. I was at PT, and I often find movement will trigger emotion for me, because I don't cry that much anymore because I'm just so busy like holding it together. But when I do a lot of movement, it can like bring up emotion for me. Probably because of dancing or something. But anyway, I got a bit teary, and Maya was at training just playing, and she comes up to me and I'm crying, and she's like, "Mama, you okay?
You
You okay?"
Like she did it to Darcy, remember?
And I said, "Yeah, baby, Mummy's just having some big feelings right now. I'm feeling a bit sad actually, but it's okay to be sad." She's like, "You okay? Dummy?"
Dummy.
I'm like,
The
"No,
bloody dummy.
No, I don't want dummy." She says, "Bunny?" And I was like, "No, I don't want bunny." She's like, "You okay?" I was like, "Yeah, baby, I'm okay. I'm just sad, but it's okay to be sad." And I was just like, it's so cute seeing how like at 2 years old, she knows
She's holding space.
She like knows to ask if I'm okay.
That's beautiful. And I love that. I mean, again, you would have been using language that says it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel. And that's so beautiful. She's getting that. It's amazing.
And those little moments, honestly, like they just they make it all worthwhile. Like when you have those little moments with your kids. And for me, it's with my boys, socially they are really well liked and kids want them to be around them. And I always explain to them that the reason people want to spend time with you is because you're kind and you see other people. But the big thing for me with my kids is watching them together. That is what
so
really gets me. When I see
together.
them connecting and caring about one another, then that's the jackpot for me, because I'm like, that's what we had always had.
So true.
And mum and dad, no parent does, may not have done everything perfectly, but my God, did they nail raising siblings, because the three of us, like literally
the most amazing
always
relationship.
Connected, always honest. And so I think, even if I only managed to do that, to raise two boys who want to spend time together, who have a close sibling relationship, I'll be like, right, done. Because that's the thing, like you become this adult, they go off and do the thing, but they've always got each other.
Yeah, that's it. I say to my kids all the time, which grosses them out, I'm like, you all grew in the same place. And they're like,
I can just imagine my kids' faces when I repeat that.
I've actually got one quick last question. It's not going to be quick, but let's just try and make it quick. Let's just Can we talk a little bit about like, so my biggest concern always is that I'm going to have a slip in my mental health, go backwards, not be able to look after Maya the way I need to. Is there anything you have out there to say to parents who maybe struggle with their own mental health or addictions or anything like that? Like, is there anything, advice or words of wisdom to say, like, you don't always have, like, I don't know what I'm looking for, maybe just some validation, but I live with this like fear all the time that it's going to come back and there's going to be days where I'm not going to be able to get out of bed or shower or hold it together for Maya. And what do I do with that?
Yeah. It's a beautiful question. And there are going to be days, whether it is because of that or not, where you're not going to be the parent you want to be, right? There's going to be days where you're sick or where you're just over being a parent and you're not your best self. And for me, I think what's really important is that we own that with our children, age appropriately. We're like, I am sad today and it's mine. It's nothing to do with you. It's just mine. I'm angry today and this is my anger. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to help myself by going for a run or talking to someone or putting on loud music and doing angry dancing. Yeah. Like the thing that becomes a challenge for children is when their parents aren't doing well is they make it about themselves.
They think it's their fault.
I think it's their fault. And it's like what I've witnessed in children so often is when a parent can own, hey, this is mine, it's like a child's nervous system goes, okay, this is not me. So when we're able to go, I am sad and it's my sadness and it's not yours and I love you, but what I'm going to do is I've got support here. I've got friends. Like I am going to be okay. Because I need to be with my sad today. So there's what often happens with challenges in families is when it's hidden and it's not talked about. So when we do this well-meaningly where we're trying to protect the children, but often in the absence of conversation around the elephant in the room, children make up stories. We are much better off saying, I'm really sad because someone I loved died, or 100%. I'm really sad because
Mummy's brain's not working
very well today. And that's mine and I've got support and these are the people that are going to look after you. It's because when we don't talk about it, it becomes a whole thing. So, and we're very good in our culture at turning away from stuff that's uncomfortable.
And kids have a very vivid imagination.
Yeah,
so they'll create something.
And they actually already know something's going on anyway because they're all about intuitive perception. They are. They feel you all the time. So when we're like, I'm fine, and we're not fine, their intuition's going, you're not fine, but you're telling me you are, so maybe my intuition's wrong. Yeah, and that's what we don't want.
Yeah, then they lose trust in their own gut and their own intuition.
So we are much better off on the days where we're not great, of just owning, I am not great today. And here's the support network for you and for me, and this will pass, and
that makes me feel
this
really
is how I'm going to
emotional.
take care of myself.
I think you're already I've actually seen you be like, if you're not having a good moment or you're not had a good day and Maya would come up to you and you'd be like, Mummy's just not feeling very well. You're actually very good at articulating that. And she definitely, she gets it almost in like, she's like, okay, like she just goes off and then she'll go and find my kids or she'll go, because you've always been honest. I don't think you've ever tried to hide that from her. Like you haven't just disappeared if you'd gone to hospital or, when your back went, you didn't just disappear. You said, I'm not feeling very well. I need to get help. And it's just, whether that's physical or mental, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
It's still
and
your health.
The challenge is we don't want then children to step into the role as the caretaker. That's the big challenge, right? So when a parent's not doing well, if we don't have the right support around us and also if we're not owning it, a child will naturally step into the role of, I'll take on your role. I'll be the caretaker. I'll take on you. And that's what we don't want. So when we can say things like, this is mine and I'm handling it and I've got the support here.
And this is who's supporting
Mummy. You are my daughter and your job is to be my daughter.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm the mummy. You're my daughter. And saying things like that helps us energetically be in the right space and in the right system.
Yeah, it's so true because my youngest, he is like the most easygoing kid that ever there was. And if he senses something's like not up with me, he'll always say, you okay, Mum? And then I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And he'll straight away say, what can I do for you? Like instinctively. And I do actually, because I'm very, very aware of this concept. I'll always be like, oh, mate, there's nothing for you to do. Like if I am feeling, I've got a headache and, I'll get it sorted out. I need to get a neck massage, whatever. There's nothing for you to do or just tell him I don't feel very good today. But it's amazing how when you said that, they'll instinctively, like he'll quickly go to see, oh, Mum, I'll go,
I'll go fix it.
he'll say us out, I'll go outside and pick up the poos, the dog poos. Like, he straight away does that when he sees something, if his brother's upset away, he goes to do something for him. Because
It sounds like a beautiful empath. And that is such a beautiful quality. And then we also don't want that to become their identity. And that's the dance that we watch, and you know him better than anyone, and you'll see that. And there'll be times
you know that better than anyone.
Both my kids, it's the biggest thing I'm aware of in both of them is that, like, they are empaths, and that is such a beautiful thing that I never want to go away. But I also am very aware that it quickly can become an identity.
Well, we have to wrap up now. But thank you so much for joining us on Life Academy. We have so many life lessons, and you get to take them away with you as well.
I'm like tired from all the information that I have in my brain and I need to process.
I'm like excited to see Maya. I can't wait to go home
to go be an amazing parent.
No, just to have a bath with her and go be the best parent ever. No. Before we ask all our guests if they have any recommendations or homework for our listeners, would you like us to start, or do you have something ready to roll?
I think following on that theme of compassion, one of the things I always love to leave people with is if you just got into bed at night tonight and put your hand on your heart and your hand on your belly, and you just asked yourself, where do I need a little bit of love and compassion? Where does your energy go to? Now, for some people, they may be like, I can't even go there. So I say, start with 5% compassion and just put it in your little toe, right? Just start gently. Just start with acknowledgement of where you are. But I think a practice for me every night, every morning is to just tune into myself and give myself some compassion and love just for being a human, because we all deserve it just for being.
So beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to do that one tonight. I really like that. Mine's totally switching it up. I'm going to recommend, I have finally found a bra I like.
This is really important.
This is really important because I hate bras.
I don't
notoriously.
even have a bra.
Fucking hate
only
bras.
have crop tops.
So
Hit me up.
Well, yeah, I used to be like you, but then Alicia told me I have to start wearing bras.
Okay.
So now,
Alicia.
Okay, Alicia, whatever, sick girl. But now I found a bra from this amazing brand called Wenala.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I love them. Oh, you have one. It's their wireless, buttery soft
Do you know
material.
we went to school with the owner? Do you
No,
know?
I didn't know that.
Dena, of course.
I didn't know that, but shout out to Wenala. Go
Chloe.
girl. Go Chloe. Obsessed with this bra. It's like wireless, but fully perky boobs. Fully fixes everything.
I really want
But
one.
yeah, no wire and so buttery soft. It's the perfect bra. I've worn it every day for a week. It's the best thing ever.
Boobs look great.
Thank you so much. So thank you. Is it Wenala or We Are Nala?
I don't know, but I just know the brand. And
I thought
know
it was wear as in W-E.
Where.
Yeah, Wear Nala. Check their bras out. Super reasonably priced as well.
Okay.
So that's my rec.
I'm going to get one. And mine is because I don't know if I'm going to make another appearance on this podcast. So I was like, what will my lesson be? And I thought I may as well say something that I am actually good at. And so my lesson is about releasing things and just doing a bit of decluttering.
Oh my God, she's the
And
queen of the declutter.
Just moving things on that you don't need anymore, and that might be really valuable to somebody else. So instead of thinking feeling guilty about, I'm going to clear out my closet and, what if I want to wear that dress again in 2 years when it fits me or whatever, just going this could actually make someone's day when they find it in an op shop, or I'm just going to put it on my Instagram and say free to whoever wants it.
Or marketplace, free pickup.
Yeah, free pickup. And as you know, I'm a massive minimalist.
Yes.
And
the declutter queen.
The queen of decluttering. And I just think that people really benefit from being in a space that is not full of stuff. So it's clear space, clear mind. So
Love
I just want to share that. That's
amazing. Both of your homework is incredible. Mine is brilliant. Amazing. The bell's about to ring, so we really have to go. But thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye, guys.
Bye.